Hi, and welcome to Clear the Chaos with the Home Planning System. My name is Richie Soers, and I am the owner and creator of Homeschool and Humor. And I'm glad you're here that you can join us in this Life Skills Leadership Summit. A little bit about me. I am a traveling homeschool mom. So we travel about 70% of the year, and the other 30% we are at home in Texas. Except for this past year, due to COVID in 2020, we stayed home most of the time. However, we kind of cautioned it a little bit and decided to spend Christmas with Aaron over here, my honey, in Georgia. So we spent a few weeks in Georgia and we just came back to Texas. So we're still being cautious about everything. We travel a lot because he works on submarines and he travels 100% of the time. So we try to join him as much as possible. We love to be with Dad. So we like being together. So that's why we travel often. But we aren't road schoolers, so we don't RV it and we don't homeschool while we're on the road, and we aren't world schoolers, so we aren't globe trotters, so we don't travel the world and homeschool like that. We actually when we get to a certain place, that's where we set up shop, and that's where we homeschool. We homeschool at our temporary home away from home. And we could be anywhere from 2 weeks to 9 months. It just depends on the length of Aaron's job. So it's normally as at least a few weeks at a time for sure. But it's a lot past few years. It's been 3 or 4 months or more. So that's how we do it. So when we're there at a place, we homeschool. And we've been to a lot of neat places homeschooling and traveling. And because of that, I've really had to get a system together with keeping things organized and keeping things together. And that's where this workshop was born, is from my own personal system. You can see that we were in Hawaii, and that's Zoe, Daniel, and Scout. Me and Scout were at Washington State, and that's Mount Rainier in the background. Then me and Aaron over here were on the Boston Harbor. That's Scout playing in the sand in Hawaii, a family photo in Hawaii. That's Daniel sitting in Thomas Jefferson's chair in one of his two homes. This one was, I believe it was in Virginia, and I believe the town was Williamsburg or Lynchburg. I can never remember the town that his home is in. But it was really neat. We got to visit Thomas Jefferson's house. Um, so that's Daniel sitting in his chair in his house. Then that's me up top. And down here at the bottom right, we were at a lookout point in Hawaii. And then the top right, that is where we were studying Apologia's Exploring Creation with Astronomy. We had to make a planetary system model of the planets, and we did that in a hotel room at that point in Virginia. So, as far as where we stay, it can be condos, apartments, hotel rooms, houses. It just depends really on what's available at the time. But we homeschool wherever we're at. It can be a smaller space, it can be a larger space, whatever it is. The whole point is I have created this system called Clear the Chaos with the home planning system, and it helps you keep it organized. So let's jump in. So, do you ever find yourself at the end of the day wondering what exactly you accomplished? Does this happen to you consistently? If the answer is yes, you're not alone. Moms have a ton of things to do throughout the day each day. It's way more than doing laundry and mopping the floor, but even that has a time and a place. Many moms struggle with this feeling all the time, especially if you're also homeschooling and when there's little ones running about. In fact, many homeschool moms struggle with their homeschool schedules and the what to do next on their homeschool agenda. And then there are many moms who not only stay at home with the kids and homeschool the kids, but they also work at home. For most of us, it never feels like we have enough hours in the day, but the reality is that you do have the time you need. It's just being taken up by non essential tasks that are overburdening you and getting in the way of what's important. When you're spinning your wheels in this way, even your best efforts don't get you any closer to your goals. It's as if you're running in place on a treadmill. No matter how hard you push, you'll never go anywhere. And we all have goals. Work at home goals, homeschool goals, stay at home goals, homemaking goals, mom goals, parenting goals, and the list just goes on. We all have these goals that we want to meet. And no one of us can afford to throw away precious minutes in our day. So rather than trying to find more time to do yet even more things and cram it in there, you need to just better manage the time you already have. And by listening to this workshop, you'll easily master this by doing 3 simple strategies that you can apply to your day, every week, and every month. The key is to think of these 3 strategies as the 3 Ps that follow a step by step order. The first one's priority, second one is plan, and third one is produce. The 3 Ps. When you organize and you set out to plan something and organize something, think of the 3 Ps: prioritize, plan, and produce. Okay? So, in this workshop, you'll learn the best practices for each of these steps and how to implement them effectively. So, follow the 3 Ps of this home planning system on managing your day, and you'll experience a huge boost in your productivity. You'll get off that time treadmill that goes nowhere, and you'll jump onto a clear path to achieving your goals. So, step one is prioritize. Learning how to properly prioritize is the number one way to boost your productivity tenfold. We all know how to make a to do list, but this isn't enough. You need to figure out which items are essential and which aren't important at all. So start by making a list of everything you have to do. And don't worry about priority right now, just get everything down, just a big fat brain dump. Now, if you have more than 7 or 8 items down, you need to trim your list. So take out any tasks that you perform every day, like checking the email, take that out. You can also take out anything that will happen regardless, such as a phone call you're expecting or something else that you have to do every single day. Just take that out off your list because that's going to happen anyway. Now look at your list and ask yourself, if I do just one thing today, what should it be? And put this at the very top of your list. Now look back at the other items and repeat for the second task. Keep doing this, and eventually you'll end up with a list of things you have to do in order of importance. So, one way to prioritize without getting bogged down in unnecessary tasks is to consider the direct results each task will have in an area you want to focus on, such as your household or your homeschool or even a business. So, which will directly or indirectly impact your goals? These are high impact tasks and should be your highest priority. Each mom's household has a different priority list. No two households are the same. So, for example, if you're a homeschool mom, your priority list might branch out from doing homeschool every day, then chores, then reading, then recess, and so on. Or it could be reading, then homeschool, then chores, etc. So here are a few different tips for refining your to-do list. So we've covered the simplest method for arranging daily tasks on a list, but sometimes this isn't enough. So here are some tips for further refining your list. In order to refine your list, you can rank items, set deadlines for everything, categorize by area, and break up big tasks. So which are all helpful tips for refining your list. So, rank items, that's when you create a scoring and ranking system. So, for example, 1 needs to be done today, 2 should be done today, 3 does not need to be done today. So, that's when you rank things and score it. So, you write down your tasks and then you rank them by order of importance. 1 doesn't need to be done, 2 should be done, 3 doesn't, wait, 1 needs to be done, 2 should be done, and 3 doesn't need to be done. Okay. That's ranking items. And then set deadlines for everything. Uh, plug your items into these categories and then prioritize within the category on ranking items right here. I missed that part. This is especially helpful if you have very small things to do. So you want to just plug your items into these categories and then prioritize within the category on ranking items. Then set deadlines for everything. You want to set a deadline for everything you have to do, even if there really isn't any time pressure. So make the deadline specific to not only a day, but also a time of day. If one task is due in the morning and another in the afternoon, you know the morning task is more important. Okay. So I use Google Calendar a lot on my phone, and I have my calendar divided into other calendars. One for blogging, one for family, and one for my homeschool. I also have other calendars made for special events going on or special things I'm a part of. And that way, everything related to that event is part of that calendar. So I can filter to see just that calendar, and it's even color coded. And then part of refining your list, you can categorize by areas. Some moms categorize by homemaking tasks or business tasks or home school tasks or personal tasks. You can then focus on one list at a time per area. You could also break it down into smaller areas of work. And then you can categorize by time. If you have different tasks to complete in the morning versus the afternoon, then you can create categories by time of day or small to do lists for each part of the day. And then finally, you can break up big tasks. So that means for anything that takes longer than a day, you break it up into daily milestones and then put those on your to do list. But I want you to remember that the goal is to have a simple system that works for you. So use whichever method or methods that make prioritizing easier for you. And then I want to talk about the back burner. So, ideally, you should have 3 to 5 tasks on your daily to do list. You have to break the habit of thinking that you need to do everything. Okay. I want you to be ruthless in throwing out tasks that aren't essential right now. So, what do you do with the items you put on the back burner? Well, if your back burner tasks can't be thrown out, then try one or more of the following tactics. Choose a day when you're going to do it. Choose a time each day when you're going to do it. Delegate the tasks or make a secondary list. These are the items on the back burner, okay? You would choose a day and time when you'll take care of each of these items. You'll set aside some time during the day when you go over these less important things, such as the very beginning of the morning or during nap times, or when you're finished with homeschool, or perhaps that block of time in the afternoon before you start dinner. You can delegate these tasks. So you can delegate it to someone else who can carry them out for you. Kids are really big enough and they're equipped to help you out around the house or with other siblings for sure. So even on many homeschool related tasks or subjects, older kids can definitely help out the younger ones. So you might want to try that next time you're bogged down with time and you're homeschooling the kids if you homeschool. You can also make a secondary task. So making a secondary list of tasks to get done in case you finish your main list early and you have time left over. Okay? So those are all parts of the tips for prioritizing. Now we're going to talk about step 2 in our 3-step system. Plan. Now that you have your prioritized to-do list for your household or your homeschool or even your work at home business, it's time to plan out how you'll complete this list in the most efficient and effective way possible. Time box your tasks. Now think about time as a flexible resource that expands or contracts based on the limits you set. What if your first task eats up more of your time than you expected? So, to prevent this from happening, you can plan a box of time for each task. Once you reach the end of that box, you'll decide whether to continue by expanding the time limit or put off finishing it for the next day, like on the back burner. Time boxing your time is a little bit different than time blocks or blocking your time. So instead of setting a block of time to do tasks, say from 12 a.m. to 12 p.m., you'll be setting a certain amount of time for the tasks to be completed, like 2 hours for this task, 1 hour for that task, 30 minutes for this task. So, for example, you might decide that the most important thing today is to paint a dresser for your daughter's room. So, you set aside 2 hours to do it in the morning. And at the end of that 2 hours, you're not quite done. You've gotten stuck in the details or the design, or if you had multiple interruptions during this time, and it's going to take at least another hour. So, you might look at the time and your list and decide to make finishing your dresser as the first priority tomorrow when your mind can focus with renewed energy. And then you proceed with the next item on your list. Okay. Then we're going to jump to time blocking your day, which is another method of planning. So, first we talked about time boxing. Okay. And now you can think about another way to plan your day is time blocking. So it's similar to time boxing your day. Time blocking is where you block out chunks of time throughout your day. Each block is then dedicated to a certain area or category for you to focus on. Some blocks can do, you could do 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. block, a 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. block, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. block, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. block, and so on. I recommend no more than 3 hours for each block and even sometimes 2 hours. You want to give it enough time to focus on an area and knock out many tasks or larger tasks, yet not too much time that you lose your whole day in it. Okay. The great thing about time blocking is that you can do many different things throughout the day and then get stuff done in multiple areas, all without multitasking, which I highly recommend you avoid at all costs. So you would do like maybe from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. That could be the area where you work on something personal. And then from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., you can just do homeschool in that area. From 12 to 2, maybe you can do free time or whatnot, and so on. So you're time blocking your day, and each time block is a different category. Now you can find your natural rhythms. Each of us has times of day when we're not when we're most productive. Yeah. So each of us has a time of day when we're at the peak of our productivity. You may also have a certain time when you're best at problem solving or cooking intricate dishes or even communicating with others. So try to schedule tasks during these optimal times of day. So maybe your most creative time of day is late morning. So if so, schedule tasks that call on your creativity energies for the hour or two before lunch. If you're at your most social in the late afternoon, set this time for park play dates, or afternoon socializing, or even doctor appointments. And then plan for interruptions. No matter how well you plan, some things are likely to take longer than you thought, especially if you homeschool or if you have little ones running around. There may be interruptions or problems you hadn't anticipated that you have to deal with right away. To allow for the unexpected, you have to pad your to do list schedule with extra time blocks. So you pad it. You want to overestimate, buffer, and plan for catch up. So even if things don't take longer than expected, padding your schedule still has an advantage. You'll be done with your work more quickly than you anticipated, which means you can finish your day sooner or get started on tomorrow's tasks. So to plan for interruptions, try the following: overestimate, buffer, plan for catch up. Overestimating is when you set time limits on the items on your list, and you overestimate the time it'll take to complete them. So you don't want to schedule morning or afternoons too tightly, or you'll be under constant pressure and you'll inevitably start running behind. And if you're always running behind schedule, you'll end up back on that treadmill of always trying to catch up. So we don't want to do that. So shoot to overestimate. And then you want to add a buffer of time in your schedule between blocks. So, for example, if you're dividing up your time into 2 hour blocks, schedule in like a 20-minute buffer with no specific task in between each 2 hour block. Okay. And then you want to plan for catch up. Another idea is to schedule specific catch up time, such as just before lunch or at the end of the day. And if you don't need it, you can use this time to take a break, or a homeschool PE, or library time, or reading out loud time, or reading to yourself time, or whatnot, or even free time. Just remember that you can always put off an item until the next day if it's going unexpectedly longer and you need a fresh mind to tackle it. And then we can talk about how to plan in batching. So you batch tasks for better efficiency. Sometimes it's not efficient to work on each task every single day. So instead, you might take certain categories and batch them by setting aside a longer block of time or even a full day to work on them. So personally, I use batching in many areas of my life: in homeschooling, cleaning, my homeschool blogging business and printables business. And I suspect I'll be doing this when I start up my new homeschool mom coffee mug drop shipping business that's on the books for this year. So, for my blog business, I've deemed one day a creation day, one day an editing day, one day a social media Pinterest day, and so on. So, when I'm in a creative writing mode, I'll write a few blog posts at once. Or when I'm making videos, I'll do many videos in one sitting, and then I'm good for the month in no time. But your brain is in that creativity mode. So, when you jump from creativity to cleaning or creativity to fixing something else, your brain is switching modes and switching gears, and it's hard to like refocus on that new task, especially when you're jumping back and forth. For homeschooling, personally, I batch lesson plans and printables. So, which you might be doing this as well and just didn't know it was called something. So, if you homeschool, that is. So, since I plan my lessons from a quarter at a time to a more detailed month at a time, I do this for all my subjects, especially those that need this kind of attention, like history and writing, and especially the curriculums that I've made myself and that I don't go through anyone else. But even with the curriculums I do use from companies, I still make sure we're on the right track. So I batch these out. Then I make note on my lesson plans. Then I make notes of what books to plan to, in order to pick up from the library for all the subjects. I plan ahead in my digital calendar, which I use Homeschool Planet and sync it with my Google Calendar. I also print out lessons every 2 weeks or so, and sometimes every month, sometimes even the beginning of every week for all my subjects at one time. And this is when I make note of additional resources that I need to add into my subjects. I could use with all the subjects that I have on hand or I need to get elsewhere. So that's the point in time when I make notes of additional resources. So as you can see, when you batch tasks, it's a good idea. That's when you like add in whatever you need to do. It's just a good way for a big knock out just that one chunk of related tasks and then move on to another chunk of related tasks. Another example is meal planning. So, one thing that comes to mind for batching tasks for me is definitely meal planning. It takes time to gather your food and make a plan on what to eat for the week. This is for any type of mom. So, even if you have to set up everything once, you can save a significant amount of time. So, in this case, you might reserve Fridays for grocery list building and ordering, and then Saturdays or Mondays to pick up this list. And then the day after, or even that same day, if you have the energy, to prep for the whole week. So you putting all your foods together and even cooking everything up for the week and then putting it in the freezer until it's time to pull it out later in the week. So that's a good idea for meal planning and batching. If you have a family, it might be better to schedule your meal prepping on two separate mornings. And besides meal prepping, this is also a good strategy for tasks where you need to get in the zone, where you need to prepare your mindset to tackle the task appropriately. Plus, it's difficult to switch gears when you do a task from A to Z, like I mentioned. And then finally, for planning, use a digital calendar to manage your day. Any phone app or online calendaring for managing your day and the tasks of your day is fine as long as it works for you. But consider using a system that houses everything about your life and is extremely versatile. Some of the most highly rated task management systems right now for homes, for moms, include Cozy, Trello, Google Calendar, Asana, ClickUp, and Homeschool Planet. Some of the most highly rated systems right now are these, and there's more. There's more out there, but these are the ones that I'm just more familiar with and that I used and have used in the past. I don't want you to get too complicated with the online task management tools or digital calendars. So remember that the whole point is to make things easier for you. You may be able to get by just using an online calendar, such as your phone's calendar. Okay. But one word of advice for using a digital calendar: once you start using one, try to stick with it. Avoid jumping around to different calendars and apps. When you do this, you have to learn the tool all over again and you have to rediscover your personal rhythm with that tool. Okay, so each tool requires a grace period to learn the ins and outs. And when you jump from digital calendar to digital calendar, you're wasting time training yourself all over again. So, for ultimate efficiency and productivity, stick with the calendar for the long term. And I personally use Homeschool Planet, which is actually a great um, it's actually a really great calendar. You can like stick things in it even if you're not homeschooling. It's really great. All right, so let's jump forward to getting ready for tomorrow. So at the end of each day, look at your list and get ready for tomorrow. If there's tasks you didn't get to today, put them on your list for tomorrow. Ideally, you should plan out your entire week in advance to maximize your time. And then at the end of each day, you'll refine the next day's schedule to take into account any changes needed or unexpected tasks that have come up. About once a week or whatever pace works for you, review long term projects and check in to see how you're doing. Look at the system you've implemented and see whether it's working or not. These systems are highly personalized and made perfect through trial and error and constant revision. Personally, I make every Monday a planning day. It's also a half day for homeschool. So on Mondays, I plan out our homeschool in finer details for the week, which means printing out lessons and prepping for projects or unit studies. And then I plan out our household tasks, such as anything that needs attention in special chores, doctor appointments, home projects, etc. I also plan out our meals for the week and place our grocery order for pickup on Tuesday. And then finally, I plan out my blogging business tasks on this day as well, so I'm aware of what I need to do this week without allowing anything to fall through the cracks. And then I make sure there is a buffer in all of my tasks. I also like to categorize, like I said, I make each day a certain category, but I also like to time chunk my day as well, time blocking it because I also homeschool my kiddos. So I have to use my whole day for household, homeschool, just personal things and working on my business. So now that you've set yourself up for success, it's time to execute on your plans and produce results. You have a calendar with your daily tasks as well as time boxes scheduled. So go through and take care of each task using the mentioned buffer and catch up time as you need it. One note on buffer time, okay? It should be used as a last resort. Don't waste this time just because you have it marked off on your calendar. There will be occasions when you really need it. If you don't need it, use the time effectively to get more work done, homeschool lessons, or crafts done, or recoup your energy. As you go through each day and take care of your to do list, various things may trip you up or distract you from your priorities. So, here are some best practices to keep you on track. Watch the clock. The is this necessary test? See it through. Prevent distractions. Don't be a perfectionist. Make use of waiting time and look for shortcuts. So watch the clock. Keep an eye on the time so that you don't run over your allotments. The best way to do this is using a timer. An ordinary kitchen timer will do, or the timer on your phone. So set it so that you can focus on your task and the alarm will let you know when it's time to move on. This is specifically helpful for chore time. I love doing the 5 for 5, which is pick 5 tasks to do that take 5 minutes. You'll be surprised how quickly you knock things out, and your house will be nice and tidy in no time. Well, in 25 minutes' time. Before starting each task, ask yourself whether it's truly necessary. Is this something that will help you get toward a specific goal or help out towards an area? Is it something that you have to do or can delegate to an older child or somebody else? Try to eliminate tasks before you start them, especially if it's something you hadn't already planned on doing and which has come up unexpectedly. If you decide to work on a task for 1 hour, stick to that 1 hour. Don't stop in the middle or start doing something else. You considered priorities thoroughly when you made your schedule, so see it through. If you feel that a task is wasting time or doesn't need the block allotted, make the necessary adjustment for next time. Arrange your area so that there are no distractions. Turn off your phone notifications and stay off social media. Let others know you're busy if you don't want to be distracted. If something comes up or you're interrupted, tell the person you'll handle it later. If you're doing homeschool, same goes. Don't do something else while you're also teaching your kids. Stay mindful and present on homeschool. If a little one wants to play or they have a tendency to distract, set them up beforehand with their own special toys, busy bins, or an educational show or movie that they can only watch during homeschool time, and toys or bins that they can only play with during homeschool time. Makes it that much more special. If you're working on a special project or you're doing a weekly meal plan or even exercising, do it in a place where you'll have little to no distractions. Sometimes, when you're focusing on getting things done, perfectionism can hold you back. Try to turn off that voice in the back of your head and remember that you can always go back later and tweak. There's always something that can be improved, so aim for good enough rather than perfect. And I love that done is better than perfect. In fact, you can grab my new ebook called Happiness Habits that helps you beat and perfection. Perfectionism and uh procrastination for better productivity. In fact, you can grab this ebook if you have the all access pass bonus package. If there's a delay in completing a task, try to use this time product productively. For example, you're waiting in the doctor's waiting room for an appointment, so while you're waiting, see if you can make some headway on another task or part of the task or even do some homeschool lessons. This isn't multitasking per se, but just a way to be more efficient. Always look for shortcuts you can use, like already created homeschool lesson plans or even a recipe cookbook, rather than winging it. Even computers have shortcut keys you can learn to be more quicker creating stuff. You may also find that merging certain subjects together will help you knock out two subjects at one. And that's it. That is a wrap. So, with the systematic approach to any or all of the areas in your life, you'll get everything you need done with time to spare. No more feeling that time's slipping away and you're stuck walking two steps forward and one step back. So now you're ready to clear the chaos with your own home planning system. To learn more insightful tips, visit my website called Homeschool and Humor, where I talk about homeschooling, but not just homeschooling. I speak on topics that you're reading right here today, as well as motherhood, travel, homeschool travel, and mom beauty. And here's the book that I was telling you about. It's called Happiness Habits. One powerful solution that many have found to save time and increase productivity is in my ebook called Happiness Habits, which will help you stop warring against productivity while getting rid of happiness stealers, such as perfectionism and procrastination. So grab this book at a very special discount today just for you with coupon code CCHOME, and you'll see your own definition of happiness increase with your productive life. You can also grab this book for free, like I said, if you have the All Access Pass, and it's in the All Access bonus package. And that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this workshop called Clear the Chaos with the Home Planning System. Again, my name is Richie Soares with Homeschool and Humor. Again, you can check out my site, homeschoolandhumor.com, and that's where everything's at. You can jump to my site at homeschoolandhumor.com and you can see, you'll be able to check out that new ebook I told you about. Again, CC Home is the coupon code to grab that ebook at a special discounted price unless you have the all access pass. And then you can get that in the all access bonus package. I'm glad you're here and I hope you have a wonderful day and enjoy the other workshops in the Life Skills Leadership Summit. You can also jump to my other workshop in the Life Skills Leadership Summit called Get Rid of Happiness Stealers. And that's when I go through how to get rid of perfectionism and procrastination. So be on the lookout for that workshop in the Life Skills Leadership Summit.